Welcome to this hearing today. For the record, the committee's jurisdiction as provided in the rules of the Senate cover all matters relating to revenue, generally taxes and fees, tariffs, loans, and other sources and forms of revenue. Included in our agenda today are the organizational meeting, the briefing of the DOF, the BIR, and the BOC. So I will not make any long introductory statement. I'd like to give the floor right away to our resource persons. Just some reminders in all my hearings, because this is going to be the beginning of many hearings to come. I like to have free-flowing discussions. I know your work is fairly technical, but I still prefer that you don't read. If you submit a position paper to me, don't read it to me because I can read it on my own. I prefer that you just highlight the point. So you don't. Of course, it's the first meeting, so I appreciate the heads being here. But in the future, kindly work closely with my team because you may not have to be here all the time. If I don't need you, I won't bother you with your precious time, but if I need you, I would like you to be here. And as we are going through our hearing, you can stand up, you can walk. If you need to take a call, I don't mind. I'm not strict about those things. I know you have a life, you have work. Sitting is the new smoking, so I want you to stand up and stretch your legs kung mahabang hearing. Today is not mahaba because we have our budget also today, and I understand you have something later. That's no problem with me. We'll get going. And let's practice sustainability. You're welcome to bring your own baon. But I will also serve you food and snacks. I just don't want us to use disposable items as much as possible. Okay, so let's get started. The first, I will hear from DOF, USEC Carlo Adriano, and then after that BIR, and then after that Bureau of Customs. Thank you. Let's proceed.
Good morning, Senator Pia. Good morning, everyone. So I will be presenting the following. Next slide, please. So the outline of the presentation is as follows. First, the actual revenue versus the target revenues.
Okay.
Second, breakdown of actual revenues. Third, tax leakages. Fourth,
Just want
performance
to
of
recognize our Chairman of the Committee on Finance, former Chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means, Senator Sherwin. Obviously, this is so important to him dahil wala siyang pang-budget kung hindi maayos ang mga collection nyo. So, he really made time to be here with us. And I know you're also busy, so Chairman, just feel free to interject. As long as I just have one or two other senators here, it can be more free-flowing. Pag marami na, then I have to moderate a little bit more. But by all means, okay. Sige, sorry to interrupt, but go ahead.
Good morning, Senwin. Fourth, performance of past tax reforms. Fifth, mechanism to stop leakages, status of cases filed by BR and BOC, which will be presented by BR and BOC respectively. Sixth, the priority measures of the current admin, and then other relevant matters. Next slide. So first one is the actual revenues versus target revenues. Next slide. So we have here 2018 to 2020, what is programmed in the budget expenditure and sources and financing, and the actual. And then you have there the highlighted with the red rectangle is the attainment rate. So if it's more than 100%, that means we have actually achieved our goal. So for 2018 and 2020, we achieved our goal, actually more than the goal. For 2019, slight shortage, yes, 99.6%. Next slide is for 2021 to 2023. So again, in terms of total revenue, we have actually achieved our goal, more than 100%. Then the following slide is for 2024, and then for 2025, it's January to September. For 2024, again, we have achieved our goal, 103.5%. For 2025, our attainment rate is almost 75%, but again, we still have October to December collections. Next slide will be the breakdown of actual revenues. Next slide. So here is basically the actual revenue collection from BIR and BOC and by type of tax from 2018 to 2024. As you can see, it was growing from 2018 to 2019 for BIR and BOC, but went down during the pandemic. We recovered around 2022, and then that increasing trend in revenues continued until 2024. And then as of September 2025, total BR collection is at 2.3 trillion, while BOC collection is at 702 billion as of September. Next slide. The next slide shows just the growth rates. As you can see, so again, as I mentioned, there was a downturn in revenues during the pandemic, but it has been growing since. For 2022 to 2024, the average growth rate of the BIR is 11.2%. For BOC, from 2022 to 2024, the average is at 13.4%. Now, for January to September, BIR's growth rate is at 11%, and BOC is at 1.6%. Next slide. This is basically the buoyancy. We call it tax buoyancy, particularly for BIR. It just measures how much growth. Basically, it's the growth rate of the BIR divided by nominal GDP. So if it's more than 1, that means the BIR collection is growing faster than the nominal GDP growth. For 2022 to 2024, the average tax buoyancy of BIR is 1.1%. 1.1. Next slide. For tax leakages, we have actually one study from World Bank in 2018, and we have an IMF report in 2023 in terms of tax expenditure. Next slide. So for the World Bank, there was a study done by World Bank for the PIT, for the personal income tax gap, and this was done in 2018. In 2018, actual revenue for PIT was at 364 billion, but according to the World Bank, their estimate for the potential revenue for PIT was at 780 billion, and hence there is a tax gap of around 416 billion in 2018. This is only for personal income tax. The next slide is for the VAT gap, also done by World Bank in 2018. So we have here the actual revenue in 2018 at 768 billion, and they estimated that the full potential VAT collection was at 1.8 trillion. And hence, there is this gap, administrative gap of 546 billion, and a policy gap of around 539 billion. So what is the difference between administrative gap and policy gap? So yung mga policy gap po, these are the exemptions. So if you provided exemption, nandyan po yun sa policy gap. Yung admin gap po, ito yung mga some inefficiencies in the administration, but it is also a result of the policy gap. Because if we provide so many exemptions, it makes tax administration harder to do, and hence more admin gap as well. So yun po yung sa World Bank. Now, we would like to note that the DOF has already requested IMF and World Bank to conduct another studies in the gaps. For instance, for IMF, we have requested the VAT gap and the corporate income tax gap. For World Bank, we are requesting the PIT gap and the excise tax gap. Next slide. So, performance of past reforms. So we have listed here the past reforms. So we have the CTRP, Comprehensive Tax Reform Program during the previous administration, which consists of the CREATE, TRAIN, and some of the sin tax laws. The estate tax amnesty, the POGO taxation, and then for this administration, we have the Ease of Paying Taxes Act, the Real Property Valuation Act, the Real Property Valuation Assessment Reform Act, the CIMEPA or the Capital Market Efficiency Promotion Act, the VAT on non-resident DSPs or digital service providers, CREATE More, and the mining fiscal regime. Next slide. So these are the incremental revenue for the CTRP during the previous administration. This is actual collections. So as you can see, on average, it's around 170 billion from 2018 to 2024. And you have the disaggregation there. As you can see, yung create, it's negative because in create, we reduce the corporate income tax from 30% to 20 and 25, and we provided incentives there, so kaya po siya negative dun sa create. But yung negative po sa create, na-offset naman po siya nung positive revenues from Train 1A, 1B, and P2 Plus. Next slide. This is basically a comparison of the program revenues for the CTRP and the actual revenues. As you can see, from 2018 to 2020, yung actual revenues from CTRP is short from what was projected during that time. As you can see, in 2018, the actual revenue collection was short by 65.4 billion, and in 2020, it's 50.8 billion short. Next slide. But for 2021 and 2022, as you can see here, mas mataas na po yung actual collection than what was actually estimated. Bumawi na po siya. So it's positive 97.8 in 2021 and 99.4 billion in 2022. And then the next slide are the reforms during this administration, the incremental revenue. So we have there the VAT on non-resident digital service providers, the Create More, the CIMEPA, and the mining fiscal regime. From 2026 to 2030, it's an average of around 33.4 billion annually. Next slide. So I think for the mechanism to stop leakages will be discussed by BIR and DOC later. So I will now go to the priority measures of the DOF and this administration. Next slide. So, next slide. So the first one, next slide, is the excise tax on single-use plastics. Next slide. So we would like to discuss first why are we proposing this proposal, the excise tax on single-use plastic, because number one, we have a problem with waste management, particularly plastics. The figure on your left shows the rivers that contribute the most to ocean plastic pollution. So there are 10 there, and 6 out of 10 rivers come from the Philippines. And the figure on your right shows the share of global plastic waste emitted to the ocean in 2019. And as you can see, Philippines, number 1. By a big margin. Hence, we really have a plastic waste management problem. Next slide. So this figure basically provides the same story. We are a social economy and ranks first in the top 10 countries with the highest annual plastic emission. Next slide. Now, what I showed earlier, yung rivers that contribute the most to ocean plastic was in 20-something. Now, this one is from the Climate Change Commission. It's 7 out of 10 na. From 6 out of 10, this one found it's 7 out of 10. Next slide. Now, problem number 2, poor waste management contributing to intense flooding has led to significant economic costs in the Philippines. We all know the impact of all of these disasters and all of this flooding. And in 2009, it is estimated only for Typhoon Ondoy, it estimated that the economic damages is equivalent to almost 3% of our GDP during that time in 2009. Next slide. Now this slide just shows you the trend in terms of rainfall, and it's increasing over time. And next slide, we all know that the marginalized sector is the most negatively impact, the marginalized sector is the most vulnerable and will have disproportionately harmed by the impacts of climate change. Next slide. Now, problem number 3 is that with the proliferation of e-commerce, particularly during the pandemic,